Hi, Ball Charter students. How are you doing? I am fine. I'm still missing you terribly, and I'm hoping you're doing well. I can't wait to see you again, whenever that is. But let me tell you, it won't be soon enough for me. All right, well, let's go ahead and pick back up with Lions at Lunchtime. Jack and Annie are exploring different parts of the savannah, but still on the lookout for those lions before the lions find them, huh? Okay, Chapter 7, Hi There. The forest was cooler than the sunny plains. It was filled with shadows and bird calls. Where are you? Jack shouted. Oh, that's right, Jack and Annie got separated. Here, said Annie. He found her in a thick glade. Bright rays streamed between the trees. Green leaves and vines swayed in the dappled light. The little gray bird sat in a tree, twittering at them. Yuck! What's that? Said Annie. She pointed at a round brown thing hanging from a low branch. Bees buzzed around it. If that's her nest, it's a pretty weird nest, said Annie. That's not a nest, said Jack. It's a beehive. Don't you see the bees? Yikes, said Annie. She stepped back from the tree. But the little bird darted at the beehive and pecked at it. What is she doing? Asked Annie. The bird kept pecking at the hive. I don't know. Maybe she's as nuts as you are, because a beehive is absolutely nothing to play around with. Look her up in the book, said Annie. See if it says she's nuts. Are you kidding? Said Jack. That nutty bird isn't going to be in this book. Well, just look, said Annie. Jack opened his Africa book. He kept turning the pages. Just as he thought, there was no gray bird in the book. Forget it, he said. Keep looking, said Annie. Jack turned one more page, and there it was, a little gray bird, a beehive, and a tall painted warrior with a spear. I don't believe this, said Jack. Then he read aloud. Excuse me. This bird is called a honey guide. It is both a friend and a helper to the Maasai people, an African tribe known for their fierce fighting skills and bravery. Hi, honey guide, Annie called to the bird. I knew you were important. Jack kept reading. The honey guide leads a Maasai tribesperson to a beehive. The bird waits for him or her to scatter the bees and take the honey. Then the bird feasts on the honeycomb. That's pretty cool, said Jack. They work together like the zebras and wildebeests and gazelles. Yeah, said Annie, and she wants us to be her helpers. We have to scatter the bees and leave her the honeycomb. How do we do that? Said Jack. He looked back at the book. It didn't exactly say how to do it. Well, maybe we could wave these weeds at them, said Annie. She pointed to some bright green plants that looked like giant fans. Jack put his book and backpack down. He and Annie pulled up the weeds. They waved them near a tree, and the bees scattered. Here they are, waving those big leaves by the beehive. Still not a safe thing to do. But I guess it's just a book. But don't do it at home. Next, Jack grabbed the tree branch and jiggled it. The hive fell to the ground and broke open. Annie stooped and stuck her finger into the golden honeycomb. Yummy, she said when she tasted the honey. Try it. Jack stuck his finger in the honeycomb, too. He licked off the golden honey. It was the sweetest honey he had ever tasted. Now the honey guide can get to her honeycomb, said Annie. Yeah, but she'd better hurry before the bees come back, said Jack. It's weird, said Annie. Honey's so sweet and good, but to get it, you have to go past a lot of dangerous bees. Oh, man, whispered Jack. That's it. That's what? Asked Annie. Jack said Morgan's riddle. I'm the color of gold and as sweet as can be. But beware of the danger that's all around me. What am I? I get it, Annie whispered. Honey. Honey, said Jack, nodding and smiling. That's it. We've answered Morgan's riddle. Let's go home. He stood up to leave. He gasped. Standing in the shadows was a tall man with a spear and a curved sword hanging from his belt. His face was painted in fierce, bright colors. Jack knew at once what he was, a Maasai warrior. "Hi there," said Annie in a small voice. The warrior stared back at Jack and Annie. "We were helping one of your honey guides," said Annie. The warrior was as still as a statue. "We didn't mean to steal anything," said Jack. "In fact, it's all yours. We've had enough." Lots of good honey still in there," said Annie, smiling. The warrior narrowed his eyes. "Is he angry?" Jack wondered. "I'm sorry we're trespassing," said Jack. "We come in peace. In fact, we bring gifts." He picked up his backpack and held it out to the warrior. The warrior still didn't move. "This?" Jack held up his book. Nothing. Jack reached into his pack. He pulled up the big jar of peanut butter. "Peanut butter?" he offered. "Bread? Hey, how about a peanut butter and honey sandwich?" "Yum," Annie said, watching the warrior. The warrior stared at the food. "We'll show you," said Jack. As Jack unwrapped the bread, his hands shook. He was probably nervous. Annie opened the jar. "We don't have anything to spread it with," she said. "Use your fingers," said Jack. "Excuse me?" Oh, sorry, I read that wrong. "Excuse me," Annie said to the warrior. "I have to use my fingers, but they're pretty clean. An elephant just do it, Annie," said Jack. Okay. She spread the peanut butter onto a slice of bread with her fingers. At the same time, Jack spread the honey from the beehive onto another slice. Jack and Annie put their pieces of bread together. "Ta-da!" said Annie, handing the sandwich to the warrior. The warrior took the sandwich. So here, Annie and Jack, offering or handing the warrior, the Maasai warrior, the peanut butter and honey sandwich. So he took the sandwich, but he didn't eat it. He just looked at it. "Well, let's make sandwiches for us too," Jack said, "so he doesn't have to eat alone." They quickly made 2 more sandwiches. "See, like this," said Annie. She bit into her sandwich. Yum, this is really good." Jack took a bite too. It was really good. Finally, the warrior bit into his sandwich, and he chewed slowly. "This is called a picnic," said Annie. They ate their sandwiches in silence, and when they finished, Jack screwed the lid back on the peanut butter jar. "Not bad, huh?" he said. The warrior smiled. He had a kind, dignified smile. Jack and Annie smiled back at him. Then the warrior turned gracefully and vanished into the trees. "Oh, man," said Jack. Part of him wanted to follow the silent warrior through the shadowy forest. "Ready?" asked Annie softly. Jack nodded. Annie started to go. "Wait," said Jack. He put away the peanut butter and bread. "We're going back to the treehouse, right? We're not going to do anything silly, like rescue anything or chase birds, right?" "Well, those things aren't silly," said Annie. "Don't forget that the bird gave us the answer to the riddle." "Oh, right," said Jack. He looked at the little honey guide. She was on the ground pecking at the honeycomb. "Thanks," Jack said to the bird. "Have a good feast," said Annie. Jack put on his backpack. Then he and Annie started out of the forest. When they passed the pond, they saw the elephant still splashing in the water. He lifted his trunk. He seemed to be waving at them. "See ya," Annie shouted, waving back. Excuse me. They rounded the bend in the river, then started through the tall grass. As they walked back toward the treehouse, they saw the wildebeest in the distance. There were still some crossing the river. They saw a family of zebras grazing together. They saw lone giraffes walking from tree to tree, eating the leaves. And they saw a bunch of lions sleeping in the shade of the tree. The same tree that the treehouse was in. "Whoops," said Annie. Jack's heart gave a jump. "So there they are. There are the lions," he said. All right, I think we're going to stop right there. That's a good time for a cliffhanger, isn't it? and we'll pick back up and finish the book next time. I hope you're all doing well. I miss you. I'll see you soon.